When my granddaughter told me she wouldn't marry the man we chose for her, I didn't know whether to cry or to hold her close. I still remember that evening, the smell of stew on the stove, the sound of the rain tapping against the window, and her voice, calm but trembling. "Grandma," she said, "I can't do this. I can't marry someone I don't love." For a moment, the whole world went quiet. The spoon slipped from my hand and fell into the pot with a soft splash. I turned to her slowly. She stood there in her yellow dress, the one I'd sewn for her when she graduated from college. Her eyes were filled with tears, but there was something else in them too, courage. I had seen that same look before, long ago, in the mirror, when I was young, and I wanted to follow my own heart. But life had been different then. We didn't speak back. We didn't question our elders. We just obeyed, even if it meant burying our dreams. So I looked at her, my only granddaughter, and I felt two worlds collide inside me, the old one that raised me, and the new one that lived inside her. When she refused the arranged marriage, the family was shocked. Her parents called me that night, angry and embarrassed. "She's making us look like fools," her father said. "Everyone already knows," her mother cried. "What will people say, Mama?" But I couldn't be angry with the girl. Deep down, I understood her more than anyone else could. When my granddaughter, Ada, walked away from that dinner table, from the life we had planned for her, she walked straight into a storm. And I, her grandmother, was left standing in the rain, wondering if I had done enough to protect her, or if, perhaps, she was the one teaching me how to live. My name is Grandma Abil, and this is the story of my granddaughter, the girl who refused an arranged marriage and came back years later with proof that following your heart can also bring honor to your family. Thank you for listening to my story. If you're watching this, please subscribe to the channel and share where you're from in the comments. Maybe you have your own story about family, love, or courage. I would love to hear it. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. I was born in a small town, the kind where everyone knew everyone else, and news traveled faster than the wind. I grew up there, raised my children there, and when they grew up and moved away, I stayed behind in the same old house with the blue front door. When my son, Chaik, and his wife, Amara, had their first and only daughter, they named her Ada. She was the light of my life from the very beginning. When she was little, she used to run barefoot around my garden, picking flowers and bringing them to me with a big smile. "Grandma," she'd say, "this one is for you." Her laughter filled every corner of the house. As she grew older, I could tell she was different. Ada was quiet but strong, gentle but determined. She loved books more than anything else, always reading, always asking questions. I remember once, when she was about 12, she came to me holding a worn-out book. "Grandma," she said, "why do people have to marry someone their parents choose? Shouldn't love choose for them?" I smiled and said, "That's how it has always been, my dear. It keeps families strong." But she frowned and said softly, "Maybe love can keep them strong too." At that moment, I saw a spark in her eyes, something that told me she would one day challenge the world around her. When Ada finished college, she made us all proud. She studied hard, earned good grades, and dreamed of starting her own business. But in our family, education didn't change tradition. A few months after her graduation, her parents began to talk about marriage. "She's of age," her father said. "We must find her a good man, responsible, well-raised, with a good family name." I watched quietly as they began making arrangements. Names were mentioned, families were discussed, and meetings were set. Ada was polite through it all, but I noticed how her smile faded each time her mother spoke about the wedding. One evening, I found her sitting alone on the veranda, staring at the sunset. "Grandma," she whispered, "do you think I'm ungrateful?" "Ungrateful? No, my child. Why would you say that?" "Because I want something different," she said. "Because I want to choose my own path." Her words made my heart heavy. I knew that path would not be easy. Our family believed in tradition. Her father was a proud man, and her mother cared deeply about what people said. I wanted to tell her to be careful, to stay quiet, to avoid trouble. But when I looked at her face, I couldn't. She reminded me of myself when I was young, before life taught me to stay silent. So instead, I just held her hand and said, "Whatever you choose, make sure you choose it with love, not anger." She nodded and smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. In the following weeks, the preparations continued. The family of the man, his name was Tunde, came to visit. He was polite, successful, and came from a respected family. But Ada barely spoke to him. She said all the right words, smiled when she needed to, but I could tell her heart wasn't there. One night, I overheard her parents talking. "She doesn't know what's good for her," her father said. "She will," her mother replied. "Once she's married, she'll understand." But I wasn't so sure. Sometimes at night, I'd hear Ada crying softly in her room. I'd sit on my bed, wishing I could protect her from what was coming. And then, that evening came, the evening she said no. It happened during the family dinner meant to announce her engagement. The table was full, laughter, food, and the quiet pride of a family doing what was expected. Tunde's family was there too, smiling politely, talking about the wedding date. Ada sat between her parents, silent. I watched her closely. Her hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. Then, when Tunde's father said, "We are so glad our children have agreed to this union," Ada's hand froze. The room went still. She looked up slowly. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I haven't agreed." You could hear a pin drop. Her father's face turned pale. "What are you saying, Ada?" She looked at him, then at her mother, and finally at me. "I can't marry him," she said. "I don't love him." Her mother gasped. Her father stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "Enough of this nonsense," he shouted. "You will not embarrass this family." But Ada didn't move. She just sat there, calm and trembling at the same time. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "But I can't." I remember Tunde's family leaving quietly, his mother avoiding everyone's eyes. The house fell into chaos after that. Her parents argued late into the night. Ada locked herself in her room. The next morning, she came to me, her eyes red from crying. "I'm leaving, Grandma," she said. "Where will you go?" "I don't know yet. But I need to find my own way." I wanted to beg her to stay. I wanted to tell her the world outside was harsh and unforgiving. But something in her voice stopped me. It was the same voice I once had, the one that no one listened to. So I nodded slowly and said, "Then go, my child. But remember, no matter what happens, my door will always be open to you." She hugged me tightly, tears wetting my shoulder. Then she was gone. Her parents refused to speak of her after that. They told neighbors she was working abroad, that she would return soon. But months passed, and there was no word. Sometimes I would sit by the window at night, staring at the road, waiting for her shadow to appear. But it didn't. 2 years went by after Ada left. At first, I counted the days, then the weeks, then the months. After a while, I stopped counting, but not because I forgot. I just could not bear the weight of waiting anymore. The house grew quieter. Her parents carried on with their lives, but something inside them had dimmed. Her mother no longer laughed the way she used to. Her father became more serious, spending most evenings reading the newspaper in silence. Sometimes, I would find her mother standing in Ada's old room, touching the edge of her bed, or folding and refolding her clothes. She would sigh and whisper, "Why did she do this to us?" And I would answer softly, "She didn't do it to us, my dear. She did it for herself." But my words brought no comfort. In our small town, people talked. They always did. They said Ada had run away because she was spoiled. They said no good girl would ever refuse a proper marriage. And each rumor felt like a stone thrown at our family's name. I could see the pain in her father's eyes, but he never admitted it. He only said, "She made her choice. Let her live with it." Then one evening, almost 3 years after she left, a letter came. The envelope was simple, with Ada's handwriting on it. My hands shook as I opened it. It said, "Dear Grandma, I am safe. I am studying in the city and working too. It is hard, but I am learning. Please tell Mama and Papa that I love them. I will come home when the time is right. Your granddaughter, Ada." I pressed the letter to my heart and cried quietly. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me breathing. Every few months, another letter arrived, always to me, never to her parents. She told me about her struggles, her small victories, her new friends. She said she was building something, but she never said what. Then, one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Her father came home from the market looking troubled. "What is it?" I asked. He handed me a newspaper. "Look at this." There on the front page was a picture of Ada, older, confident, wearing a suit and smiling. The headline read, "Young Entrepreneur Wins National Award for Women in Business." My hands trembled as I read the article. She had started her own company, small at first, helping young women learn skills and find jobs. It had grown so much that now she was being honored for it. I looked at her father. He said nothing for a long time. Then, very quietly, he whispered, "That's my daughter." That night, for the first time in years, we talked about her. Her mother cried and said she wanted to see her. Her father said nothing, but I could tell his heart was softening. I wrote Ada that night and told her everything. I told her how proud we were, how the whole town was now talking about her, not with judgment, but with respect. A month later, she replied, "Grandma, I think it's time to come home." The day Ada came home, the sky was clear and bright, as if it too had been waiting. I stood by the window, the same one where I had once waited for her shadow. This time, I didn't have to wait long. A car stopped in front of the house. The door opened, and there she was. Older, yes. Stronger. Her hair was shorter, her clothes simple but elegant. But it was her smile that made me cry. "Grandma," she said softly. I opened my arms, and she ran into them like a little girl again. We held each other for a long time, not speaking, just breathing the same air. Then I whispered, "You came home." She nodded against my shoulder. "I told you I would." When her parents came into the room, there was silence. Her mother froze, her hand over her mouth. Her father's eyes were wet. Ada stepped forward. Mama. Papa. I'm sorry. Her mother started to cry. Oh, my daughter, you could have written to us. You could have called. I was afraid, Ada said. I thought you'd never forgive me. Her father's voice broke. You are our child. We were angry, yes, but never stopped loving you. He went to her slowly and pulled her into his arms. For a moment, time stood still. The house that had once been filled with silence was now filled with tears, laughter, and forgiveness. That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, we sat together at the table, the same table where everything had fallen apart years before. But this time, there was no tension, only peace. Ada told us her story. After leaving home, she had found a small room in the city and taken odd jobs to survive. She sold handmade crafts, tutored children, and even worked at a bakery at night. With every bit of money she saved, she started learning about business and design. I failed many times, she said, smiling. Sometimes I wanted to give up. But I kept thinking of what you once told me, Grandma, that I should choose with love, not anger. So I built everything with love. I couldn't stop smiling. I could feel pride bubbling up inside me like a warm river. Her mother asked softly, were you ever lonely? Ada nodded. Many times. But I also met people who believed in me. And slowly, I began to believe in myself. She told us how her small craft shop grew, how she started hiring other young women who had been told they couldn't make it on their own. She taught them to weave, to sew, to sell, to dream. When her business was recognized nationwide, she didn't feel like she had won. She felt like she had finally come home to herself. Now, sitting in our living room, she looked around and smiled. I wanted to come back and show you that I didn't throw away your love or your teachings. I just found my own way to honor them. Her father, who had always been a man of few words, took her hand. You have made us proud, my daughter. You have honored our family more than any arranged marriage could have done. Her mother added softly, maybe we needed to learn too, that tradition is not meant to cage love, but to guide it. We all sat quietly after that, the sound of crickets filling the air. Later that night, Ada came to my room and sat by my bed. Grandma, she said, thank you for not stopping me that day. I looked at her, tears in my eyes. I almost did, Ada. But something told me you needed to find your own wings. She smiled and held my hand. You gave me the courage to fly. Weeks passed, and the house felt alive again. Neighbors came to visit, bringing gifts, laughter, and curiosity. Some said, Abil, your granddaughter is a blessing. And I would smile and say, she always was. One afternoon, Ada and I sat together in the garden, the same one where she once picked flowers for me as a little girl. The sun was soft, the air warm, and for a long while, we said nothing. Then she turned to me and asked, Grandma, do you ever regret not choosing your own path when you were young? I thought about it for a moment. No, I said slowly. Because my path led me here, to you. But watching you has shown me that every generation must find its own courage. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I hope one day I can be as wise as you. I smiled. Wisdom comes from listening, especially to your heart. In the weeks that followed, Ada started visiting schools and small groups in our town, sharing her story with young girls. She told them they could dream big, that they could honor their families while still honoring themselves. She spoke with kindness, not rebellion, with respect, not anger. And slowly, people began to understand. Even the elders who once whispered now spoke of her with pride. One evening, I watched her from the window as she laughed with some of the neighborhood children. The same road that had once taken her away had now brought her back, and not as a runaway, but as a woman who had built her own light. I realized then that love and tradition don't have to fight each other. They can hold hands if we let them. That night, before I went to bed, I opened my old journal and wrote these words. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes faith means believing they'll return. And sometimes, when they do, they bring more honor than we ever dreamed. I closed the book and smiled. Because Ada's story wasn't just hers, it was ours. When people ask me now what happened to the granddaughter who refused an arranged marriage, I tell them this. She didn't refuse love. She simply waited until love came from her own heart. And when it did, it brought her home. Thank you, my dear friends, for listening to my story. This was my granddaughter's journey, a story about courage, patience, and the quiet power of love. If this touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with someone who needs hope today. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and if you have a story of your own, maybe about family, forgiveness, or finding your way, I would love to hear it. Until next time, this is Grandma Abiel, wishing you peace, kindness, and the strength to listen to your heart, even when the world tells you not to.